It was a lot harder than we anticipated.
Oh, hey, welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, founder and podcast producer at Max Podcasting. And you can email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 237, and today's guest is Beth Fynbo. Beth is the founder and president of Busy Baby, where she has created the Busy Baby mat and several genius products that keep you happy, keep your kid occupied, entertained while you have a busy baby. And the Busy Baby mat is the world's first silicone placemat for babies that has all sorts of different toys that you can tether in, and has a variety of purposes, including the fact that your baby won't throw their toys across the room or across the restaurant. In this episode, we talk the 10 years that Beth spent in the Army, all things Busy Baby, and why you should talk to strangers, not just your family, about your business. On that note, of course, we talk the family business element of her business, plus her Shark Tank experience, and peeing in public. Yep. It is Beth. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Beth Fynbo, president and founder of Busy Baby. So lots of repeated letters there, which is always fun, and I like that a lot, and I'm just corny and ruining the interview already. But no, Beth, thank you so much for joining. Just love everything from the Busy Baby mat to your other awesome products and innovations. So excited to talk to you today. How you doing? Thanks for joining.
I'm good. And on the alliteration part, my nickname is Bethy Booper. I've got Busy Baby.
I was going to guess that. No, I was not going to guess that.
I've got a lot of B's going on. I dig it too.
Perfect. Were you a big fan of Betty Boop growing up?
Kinda, yeah.
There we go. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to talk about bananas and basketballs. No, I'm just kidding. So, but no, we will get to Busy Baby. But before that, so I'm blown away. I know you have, you're a military veteran, spent 10 years in the Army, and I was looking at some of the roles you had there, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but cryptologic linguist and broadcast journalist. Broadcast journalists I've heard of, but cryptologic linguist. What is that? Can you decryptize that for us?
Yeah, I'll put it real simply. The first 5 years, I learned a couple languages, and then they taught me how to do some stuff with military intelligence. And so that's all I can tell you, or I'd have to kill you.
Okay. We don't want. Yeah. I don't want this to be my last interview. Okay. So we don't need to get too into the details there. But what would you say? What would you say was like some tips you have for learning multiple new languages?
Oh gosh, I don't even know how I did it because I'm not good at it, but I'm just good at learning. So I think that whole process of being in the military and having to learn multiple languages, having to learn a lot of technical things that I had never heard of before, of, equipment that intercepts signals. And then, the second 5 years I did broadcasting. So I was TV and radio. I had to learn how to operate a camera and edit video and audio and be a broadcaster on radio and TV. So just all these things I've never done before. I got really good at learning. And that's kind of really what helped me when I started my business, because when I had the idea for the Busy Baby mat, I had never done any of the things that you have to do to start a product-based online business. So I learned a lot.
Yeah, I think learning is one of those skills that literally you can apply to anything. So it's really good, especially when you start like a different part of your career that's totally different than what you were doing before. I do happen to think that editing and like production skills and obviously communication skills overall come in huge handy in a number of different things that you're doing. So it's awesome that you got that experience, not just anywhere, but like serving for our country. So that's just I have chills thinking about it. I have many questions about cryptologic languages, but I don't want us to wrap up this interview early, so I'll bite my tongue a little bit. But overall, what was it that inspired you to serve in the military in the first place?
It was spring break in Minnesota, which is just really a nasty time of year. Most people go to Florida, Cancun, the Bahamas, somewhere to get away from here because it's just nasty in Minnesota at spring break time. And I was going to school, and I'm very like loan averse. I was living on student loans. I didn't like it. I was during spring break working while all my friends were on these nice vacations because I had written a bad check for the next semester and I needed to get money in the bank before the school cashed it. And so I'm kind of like in a depressed mood in my dorm room. It's nasty outside. I want to get the heck out of Minnesota. I don't want to pay for college. And a recruiter called me and he says, "How would you like to travel? How would you like money for school?" And I said, "Sign me up." And I literally signed up, I think, the next couple days. And then after that semester ended, I went off to boot camp.
How long was it until you knew exactly what your role would be over there?
It's interesting because I didn't know when I went up to Minneapolis to do the initial like testing and see what jobs you qualify for and what jobs are available. I think the only things they told me I could do was be a parachute rigger or a heavy wheel mechanic. And I had been there all day. I had taken all these tests. I scored really well on them too. I was like, really? All this work, all these high scores, and those are my options? Like, I think I just wasted my day here. And they said, well, wait a minute. Let us look at one more thing. And they came back and they said, well, there's this other job in military intelligence. You would have to go to school for an extra year in Monterey, California to learn another language. And I said, yep, I'll do that. Get me out of here. Get me to California where it's warmer. I really didn't know what the job was, but I just knew I didn't want to pay for school and I wanted to get out of Minnesota. And that's how it started.
The cold and high living expenses will do that to you. I think make you want to move. But how many different locations did you live over your time in the military?
10 years. I was in 14 countries.
Oh my God. And obviously it's a different mindset that versus like, if just moving for like a sales job or something, but like how mentally do you get yourself to stay used to change like that?
I think I went through a kind of a bad divorce. My parents got divorced when I was in high school, and I was moving back and forth between mom's house and dad's house every couple weeks, and then every couple months. And I kind of was never feeling settled anyway. So when I got to go to all these different cool places and learn all these cool things and meet new friends, and I didn't have to pay for any of it, it was kind of exciting. The hardest part was actually getting used to being in one place when I got out of the military. Because after 10 years of all that moving, it didn't feel natural or normal to just live somewhere and like that's where I'm going to be.
So let's move from one place to the next. Let's get to Busy Baby. So you, based on your background, clearly that screams like, I want to start a baby business. No, but how did you ever think at a different time that you would be, one, starting a business, and two, starting a business, I guess, in the baby space, if it's as it's so eloquently called?
I knew someday I would start a business. My dad's a business owner, and he had a welding shop that, we grew up working in his shop, and I liked the freedom and I liked the fact that no one told him what to do. He got to decide how he wanted to work. And one thing he told me is, the great thing about working for yourself is when you screw up, it's your responsibility. You're the only one who impacted that. When you're working somewhere else and someone else screws up, it affects everybody. So, I like having controlled my own fate and taking responsibility for my own successes and failures. As far as picturing myself in this space, never in a million years. And I actually run Busy Baby with my brother. He also served in the Army with me at the same time. And we had a meeting a couple weeks ago where we were kind of planning out our next year. And we're riding in the elevator. And I look at him and I was like, did you ever think in a million years that you and I would be in this hotel planning out our year of marketing for a bunch of baby products that we invented and now sell? Just laugh like, no, never in a million years.
And it's so cool. I mean, it's a fun space to be in, but also working with family. I mean, a little teaser, we'll get to that. Definitely curious, and endless love for family business. But Busy Baby, what was the first like inkling of a spark of anything towards this idea in the first place?
It was kind of a couple things back to back. The first thing that happened is after my maternity leave ended with my first, I realized that first couple days going to work, this is when I need to start a business. I don't want to be tied down by this, corporate 9 to 5 and someone else telling me when I'm allowed to take time off or what hours I have to work and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, oh, I need to come up with something. And then within days, I went out to lunch with some of my girlfriends. They were stay-at-home moms. They brought their 1-year-old daughters with them. And, took me out to lunch to kind of check on my mental health when you take that big shift from being at home every day with your new baby to now being away from them all day. And the lunch was spent entirely of these two little girls knocking everything to the floor, throwing everything down, reaching for everything on the table, to the point where I actually joked. I was like, we should make little T-Rex suits for babies that you can like pin their elbows to their back so they can't reach anything. And then when the food comes, you can like release them so they can reach their food. And we all kind of had a little laugh. And I went on Amazon actually in that moment to find something I could buy for my son so that he wouldn't be that big distraction when he was old enough to join us at the table. And there wasn't anything that would both be a clean surface for his food that he couldn't throw on the ground and also somehow keep his toys from ending up on the ground. And literally the next day on my drive to work, I had the idea for the Busy Baby mat.
I'm surprised that you didn't find anything that was like a Jurassic Park license T-Rex suit at first when you had that initial idea. So you did that all really, really quick. I mean, it must have felt like, running into a brick wall when you were back at that 9 to 5, like, wow, I need a serious change here. What would you say allowed you to get moving so quickly on what the actual baby idea would be?
I think I'm just a problem solver kind of by nature. And so once it was in my head that this is a problem that hasn't been addressed, I immediately started kind of buying stuff off of Amazon, silicone mats, suction cups, tether type things, and cutting and gluing things together. That actually took 6 months before I went any further. I made a prototype. I didn't know it was a prototype then, but I made a little thing that would work for me. And then I also made one for one of my best friends who had a baby at the same time. And it took a little while to get it functional. It was ugly and messy, but it kind of worked. And so after my friend had used hers for a little bit, she sent me a message with a like exclamation points. You need to make this thing for real. She said, I went to the bowling alley last night. I forgot it. And it like was such a nightmare. I didn't realize how useful it was to have that until I didn't have it. And so that's what started the clock on like, how would I make this for real? I have no idea.
So how did you make it for real?
I started taking some entrepreneurship classes actually with an organization called Bunker Labs. They are a nonprofit that supports veterans and their families when they want to start a business. So they provide classes, kind of residency things, all kinds of support. And at the time, they had a weekly course in Minneapolis that I could drive up to and essentially learn step by step how to start my business. I ended up going to a trade show, an industry trade show at the very beginning, just to see if I could see myself in that space. And at the trade show, I walked up and down this baby and infant baby toddler aisle, and I talked to some of the other businesses that were there. One of the businesses I talked to right away was a mom just like me. She had invented something for babies, didn't know what she was doing, but it just like she solved a problem from an issue she had with her own daughter. And I said, will you be my mentor? And she's like, oh, I would love to be your mentor, but I am on my second or third product and I have 2 little kids at home. I just don't have time. She's like, but I'll give you 20 minutes of my time right now if you have any questions. And so I asked her, what is the biggest lesson learned? Like, what's the one thing you would go back and do over? And she said, professional product development. She said, unless you have the technical skill and know-how to do a CAD drawing designed for manufacturing, you're going to have to pay for that anyway, or you're going to deal with all kinds of issues. She's like, so I would recommend just doing that from the get-go. I was like, okay, good to know. Like, I don't know how you find a product developer.
Right. They're just, they just pop up everywhere, right? You just kind of look outside and bam. Yeah.
Right. So then I went a little further down and I talked to another baby company, another family-owned company. I told them my story and showed them my prototype. I'd kind of balled it up in my purse and they said, oh, you know what you need? You need a professional product developer. I said, "Yeah, that's what the lady down there said." They're like, "We have a great one. Give us your card. We'll pass your information along." And so then the next week, these product developers out of Utah contacted me. By the way, they're almost like all out of Utah, but they contacted me and I said, let's try it. And the way they worked was you kind of develop the project in three phases. And each phase you pay half up front and half like when that phase is complete. And the cost for that first phase to just kick it off and get going and see where we could go with this was almost exactly the same as what my tax return was. Like I got my tax money back and it was almost the same. I was like, well, that's a sign like from the universe that I should, spend this money on this idea and at least see if it has legs. And I'll regret not doing it and I'll always wonder if I don't. So that's how I started.
I think that's a good way to approach, like, if you're weighing a decision, is like, if it's really eating at you, of like, man, like, I don't want to live my life and never even, try this. Like, that's a pretty good indication to do it. Obviously, as long as it's like something that's safe and, could be positive. But like, your story about feedback also speaks to me because, everybody says like early feedback from family and friends can be so valuable, but it also can be like, you don't quite know what to believe because the people that are closest to you are way more likely to support you over the top. But it sounds like what you got from your friend early on was like, I mean, literally like texting in all caps, like, no, like, I'm not kidding. You need to turn this into reality. So that's like from a different style of feedback there.
Sure. And it's true that your family and friends are going to be extra nice to you or not want to hurt your feelings. And so one of the first things that Bunker Labs made us do is go interview strangers. They wanted us to interview 100 strangers. I did 10. But
Hey, you got to double digits. That's pretty good.
the tip I give people who I mentor is, start by identifying who's your target market and then go where they are and ask 10 people in that place. For me, it was the baby section at Target and moms who had babies with them in a cart. I said, can I just ask you just 2 minutes? I'm a mom. I just came up with this idea for a product. Can I just like show you and see what you think? And I would say almost all of them wanted to buy my junky prototype right there on the spot from me. So for me, that gave me good validation that I might be onto something here because perfect strangers are telling me it's a good idea.
I'm just super corny, so I couldn't resist. But you talked about finding your target market, and for you, it's literally target market because it was like a Target. But like, so couldn't resist there. But we, we've gotten this far and talked about the product this much, and have yet to really even explain what the product is. So for somebody who's not familiar with like the original product, the original Busy Baby Mat, what makes it different than like a traditional baby mat you might find out there and in other stores?
There's two main differentiators. One is that we have suction cups on the bottom that help it stay attached to the tables and the high chairs. The main differentiator is that we have a patented tether system that allows you to connect any of baby's things, their pacifier, their favorite tea, their whatever. You can connect the stuff to the mat. So now when they drop or throw things, they're right there within arm's reach and you're not having to pick them up off the ground. They're not getting lost and dirty and gross. It just keeps the baby busy longer. It's fantastic at home with if mom and dad are doing food prep or washing dishes or trying to eat their own meal. The baby has stuff right there to keep them entertained and they're not screaming at you to pick up what they just dropped.
Yeah, and that's so relatable. I think anybody who's like ever eaten with a baby has seen, or like a toddler at that age has seen how things can just go flying everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's like you look at where they're sitting after, like how is like a little human capable of creating that sort of mess?
Yeah.
So that's really, I love the tethered system, as you called it, and you mentioned it's patented. I know patents have been a huge part of your business. Can you speak a little bit about what like your multiple patent journey has been, how you've been able to pull it off and make those a reality?
Yeah. That was the hardest money to spend in the early days when I wasn't selling anything yet and didn't have proof of concept even. But it's one of the things I am so grateful that I did. I got mixed guidance at the beginning as a new entrepreneur. I had some patent advisors telling me, I don't even know if that's patentable. You spend your time and money just being first to market. And then I found out from someone after I think I was already $16,000 into development, a patent attorney said, well, what does the patent search show? I said, what do you mean? What's a patent search? And he's like, you haven't done a patent search? And I said, no. He's like, how much money have you spent? I was like, a lot. He's like, well, you want to ideally do a patent search before you spend any money, because even though the product's not on the market, it may already be patented. And if you are infringing on someone else's patent, they can essentially just take everything from you once you get on the market. So my heart like dropped into my stomach, and we did a patent search and found out there were several patents had been filed. None of them have been written. I was in the clear, fortunately. So then I moved forward. I actually ended up with a fantastic patent attorney here in Minnesota who is just the best strategist in the world. And we now hold 9 US patents and 1 in China, with several more pending.
Damn. Okay. So you're into double digits on
Mhm.
stranger interviews as well as patents.
Yes.
Both equally important there. But besides the the need to do research before and like the costs associated with it, what's something that you think many new entrepreneurs wouldn't realize that's true about patents?
I think the biggest shock to me was that you can be infringing on a patent and not even know it. So before, like literally before you spend a dime doing anything with your idea, you can do patent searches on Google Patent, and you can find maybe some of your keywords or things about like your idea. But it's really more important to actually pay a professional patent search, not necessarily a patent attorney. Most patent attorneys outsource it, but people who are professionals at doing patent searches, because patents are written in a foreign language. I mean, it's still English, but it's legalese that is very specific to the intellectual property world, and they will find a lot more in their searches than you will. And the benefit, I mean, the cost there is between $400 to $800. The benefit is when you take that next step to write your patent or have a patent attorney write your patent, you now have done your due diligence and you have everything that's in the prior art, they call it, to include in your patent. So your first patent, you have a patent attorney write it, you submit it. Typically, they come back from the patent office with a rejection, and they'll say there's this prior art that exists that makes it so your patent doesn't have anything, unique or new patentable. And then you kind of do these office actions back and forth where you kind of argue your point and say, no, I am patentable because this, and this. When you have a great patent attorney and a thorough patent search, you include all that prior work in your patent application, and they have nothing to argue because you've laid it all out for them and you've already disputed, and that saves you thousands of dollars, because every office action, the going back and forth between your attorney and the patent office, is about $1,000. And if you have to go back and forth multiple times, you're racking up the dollars. So, I think I paid 500 or 600 bucks for my first patent search, worth every penny, because we got our first patent written in less than 8 months with no office actions, which is insanely good.
I like insanely good. How helpful would you say those patents have been for you overall?
Insanely good. Like it's
I like it.
so before I aired on Shark Tank, which we haven't talked about that either, I was expecting knockoffs to start rolling in after the product was on national television. They actually started coming out on Amazon a month before I aired. And so because I had a written patent, I was able to get them taken off of Amazon. And now I think we've taken down well over 200 different listings on Amazon that is some form of a knockoff of our products.
Oh man. So speaking of insanely good, Shark Tank, which you naturally segue, so thank you very much. Obviously, can be massive exposure for any brand. So you're one of the the fortunate ones to get featured there. And how did your experience compare to what you expected, just on base Shark Tanks that you've seen before?
I would say it was mostly what I expected. In preparation, I watched literally every episode of Shark Tank that existed at the time.
You've watched more than the producers have, probably.
Potentially. I mean, it was mind numbing. It got hard to keep going, but I wanted to be as prepared as I could be to answer every question, that I anticipate every question, know how they would respond. So by the time I got there, you walk down the hallway, it looks just like it does on TV. You stop on the rug and there they are, and they tell you to go, and you do your pitch, and then they ask you questions. Like, they don't know who you are. They know your name and they see your set, but I mean, it really is essentially how it looks on TV. There's some editing that happens and things might get rearranged a little bit in the post-production. I was in there for 50 minutes and it gets cut down to 10. So I think a lot of people don't realize that happens. So there's conversations that aren't included. But other than that, it was what I expected.
Yeah, 50 to, and I've heard stories of people like multiple hours. So like that's good. 50 minutes, pretty short and sweet there. But I mean, you were very, very well prepared and watched every episode. But was there any aspect of intimidation when you actually are face to face with these sharks and you're just up there and they're like, "Hey, go"?
I think because of my personality, I wasn't intimidated. And part of my business journey was I did a ton of business competitions prior to Shark Tank. So I had already been in those like Shark Tank like pitch scenarios where I had practiced and responded and gone through all the motions. And I had won a significant amount of prize money at that time. So I was confident. There were some surprising things. I didn't expect Mark Cuban was one of my sharks, and I didn't expect him to have any interest whatsoever. And he really didn't in the product. He didn't want to be in the baby space. But that guy cheered for me and supported me so much. Like I felt like I was like a basketball player on the Mavs court. He was just like standing up. He yelled at Lori. I wish that part had made TV. He actually yelled at Lori on my behalf. So that was awesome. That was unexpected and great. And I really just thought they would be more interested. I obviously think my product's genius and they'd be silly not to want to invest in it. And yeah, I got an offer from Lori and I walked away from it. So I didn't take a deal and I walked off the stage, and that's the last I ever heard from Shark Tank.
That's something that I don't know if there's like a name for it, but it's got to be like honorable in the community to like be on Shark Tank and then turn them down because it's, so many people go in there hoping for a deal. It takes really, I don't even know if it's poise or courage or what to actually turn them down. But besides never hearing from them again, what was your experience, when they, wanted a partner and you basically said, "No, sorry, I need to, get to the recording for Max's podcast right away. So I can't take this deal."
Well, let me give you another segue here, Max. As I mentioned earlier, they cut the conversation from 50 minutes to 10. So what America didn't get to see was my negotiation with Lori. I was already on my second product being developed. I wanted to expand my product line. I wanted to get into retail stores and even go international. So that's why I was there. I wanted a shark to help me get into the big box retail, to expand the product line. And she only wanted to license my original product to Munchkin. That's all she wanted to do. And the deal was going to be contingent on that. And for me, that was not the direction I wanted to go whatsoever. For me, it was a super easy decision to stand my ground. You actually see in the negotiation, I go up to 15%. And the second I told her 15% in my head, I was like, please don't take it. Please don't take it. Because I did not want to do it. But I think with the lights and the camera and negotiating,
action.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like the lights, camera, and action are surrounding you, and you just feel like you got a lot going on and looking for some direction, go to maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Sign up for the podcasting to the Max newsletter. I'm just kidding. That won't resolve your worries or fear or anything like that, but it will help you become a better entrepreneur, a better podcaster, and give you a laugh or two, because my jokes, I really try to make them good, but they are just awful. So whether you're laughing with me or at me, let's laugh together, let's entrepreneur and podcast together. You can sign up at maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Now, let's dive more into that family business we alluded to and have been alluding to. So let's segue again. Thank you very much. To see, I just like send you these bullet points in advance so you can be like, hey, let's segue here, Mac. Now, but let's get to a segment more about how you work and inspiration and creativity. What gets you going? What gets your company going? And we spoke a little bit before, but you officially have a family business now. So you work with your brother. You had worked with him, you had served with him, but now you're entrepreneuring with him. So that's I just always love family business. Grew up, my parents have a family business and I've worked there plenty, and there's something really, really special about it. But of course, with any sort of business relationship. There's pros and cons of it. Since your brother started working with you, what would you say overall has been like the best part about it and then the worst part about
Well, I was trying to get you to segue into expanding the product line, but we'll get there.
it? Believe it or not, I will get that into this segment as well.
No, my brother really is the first step in that. So actually, so my season of Shark Tank, we were quarantined in Vegas. It was 2020, so during the pandemic.
You had the extra special
Yeah.
tank experience.
Yes, extra special. It was 8 days quarantined in a Vegas hotel room, not able to open my door for any reason except room service. Like you were quarantined. At the time, I loved it because I had 2 little kids and I didn't have to wipe any butts or listen to any screaming and whining. It was like a mom vacation. But while I was there, I got to focus a lot on the business because there was nothing else to do. So that month that I recorded, I was on the verge of my first six-figure sales. And I was still doing this by myself and I was still working a full-time job. And so I was feeling overwhelmed, like I can't keep doing all of this. I'm gonna lose it because this is just so much. 2 little kids, full-time job. The company is growing now all of a sudden, even before Shark Tank aired. And so I was joking with my brother on the phone and I said, you know what you should do is you should sell your house and you and the family should move down to my property, live in your camper and help me with this business for a year. I said, you get the kids to help package up orders. It'll be great. And, we were joking and he's like, yeah, I'm not against the child labor. They need to learn some work ethic. But then later that day, I was like, no, that actually makes sense because I don't inherently trust other people and strangers. And I don't have the budget to hire this like high caliber person I would need to support the business and help the business grow. But my brother is super smart and he's kind of my perfect, like we have the exact opposite skill sets. So where I'm really strong, he's not, but where he's really strong, I'm not. So we're, like a really good pair like that. So long story short, I ended up convincing him to quit his very dependable full-time corporate job, full of benefits and stability. And he joined me in Busy Baby.
So you were like the some people would view as a very, very bad influence, but obviously it's turned out great.
Yeah, I mean, I was the one who convinced him to join the army. I was the one that convinced him to do a lot of things that we've done. But
you're very convincing, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, at least with him, I must have some sort of hypnosis over my little kid brother. But we thought it was going to be great. He gave his work significant notice, and then we started up at the beginning of 2021 working together, actually 10 days before we got the notification that we would be airing on Shark Tank. So he was, very new and learning literally everything and got thrown right into Shark Tank prep. So kind of thrown into the fire. And once we recovered from that experience and things got back to kind of normal, it was a lot harder than we anticipated. A lot harder. We had, we both function and operate and learn and do everything very different. I'm very solo. In my military career and my corporate career, I was kind of on my own a lot and paved my own way and didn't have a huge team supporting me. He, on the other hand, was the opposite. He always had really good strong team environments in his military career. And then he was in, a corporate job where there was teams and support systems above and below and budgets, and you just got told what to do and then you do it. And you have all these guidelines and, you come to Busy Baby, you have no guidelines. I joke that, I don't know if we can swear on here, but we're in the
Oh yeah, we're explicit, so go.
Where I said, welcome to the fucking figure it out club. Because that's what we do every day. We fucking figure it out.
Alliteration and swearing in the same sentence. I don't like. I'm ready to just sit back and eat a pie after that one.
Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I haven't known what the hell I was doing this entire time, but I found resources to help. And I'm, like I said, I'm a really good learner. So I've learned along the way, and every day is something new that we have to fucking figure out. And that's just the way it is. You just have to figure it out. You can't not do something because you don't know. And he figures things out different than me, and he excels in a different structure than me. And we got to a point, even just last summer where it's like, I don't enjoy working with you anymore. And he didn't enjoy working with me anymore. And we had our heart to heart and we figured out these differences and we worked through them. And now it's perfect. Now he's got his lane. I got my lane. I know how to help support him. He knows how to give me my space and let me do my thing. And it's a great, great situation, and we get our kids involved and our spouses involved, and it's a truly amazing family business, but it took a while to get there.
So I totally thought of this on my own, but how'd you fucking figure out your product line?
Oh, that's a fantastic fucking segue.
Yeah, I mean, it just came to me.
Yeah. So it started actually most of it has been customers or my own kids. The first extension was my teething spoon, and that's kind of a funny story. It's based off of my Venus razor handle. So if you like are familiar with like shaving handles, you know, my son got a hold of mine when he was 1 without the blades on it. So just this like firm handle that has silicone texture around it, and it became his favorite teether because it was like easy to hold. The curve of the handle was perfect. It had like some silicone ribs on it for a better grip, and then the end of it was firm but still textured in silicone for his gums. And so I wrote in my phone I have like a little note for inventions, future ideas. And so I called it the razor teether, and eventually developed it into an actual teether that is compatible with the tether system and also serves as a first time training spoon for babies who are just starting to learn how to eat. So that's what was working on when I filmed Shark Tank. Then we get a lot of customer feedback about wanting a smaller size of the mat because the mat fits most high chairs, but it doesn't fit compact high chairs. Being from Minnesota, we have kind of more space, so we all have bigger high chairs, but people who live in apartments in New York and San Francisco, their high chairs are smaller. So then I came up with an idea for a mini version. And then after Shark Tank, somebody reached out to me with another idea that we developed. And then as my kids started learning how to write, we came out with toddler products. And then the one we actually just launched 2 new products this last weekend. And that's in response to our negative reviews. Learning from negative reviews is just the best thing ever. If you can get past the personal like feeling of rejection and ick and all people are stupid because they don't get it. And because that's how I felt for the longest time, is like, you morons just don't know how suction cups work. Because the number one review we get that's negative is this: it doesn't stick to anything. Well, suction cups work by creating a vacuum seal. They only stick to smooth, clean surfaces. So if the surface is textured or wood grained or has crumbs and is dirty, suction cups won't stick. So we came up with an idea for a bib that you can use the same tether system. So there's little holes in the bib where you can hook up the tethers, and then to them you can hook up the toys and teethers and pacifiers. And the other thing customers were demanding is like, what can we use for utensils? Like my kids they're past the teething spoon. I want them to start using a spoon and a fork. Which would you recommend? What can we go buy that will work really well with your teethers or your tethers? And so we developed our own that has a little hole in the end that makes them super easy to connect to our tether system. And now we've got like the whole feeding system.
Oh, I love the innovation there. First of all, I think you are the only mother to like gladly let your kid just play with the razor, a shaver.
There was no
It's without the blades. I know, I'm kidding.
blades.
It's out without the blades. But no, I love ideas like that where it's like something else is existing and it just like works perfectly in a different lane there, and it's like, huh, okay, what if we like designed a product like that? So that's really cool. In terms of your different objects, utensils that you can tether on, what would you say at the time of this recording is like the most unique one you've created?
God, they're all pretty unique. I think the original invention of the mat that can suction down and then have the tethers is the most unique. The bib would be the next, because the bib I don't know any other silicone bib that exists that you can attach stuff to.
Not to get too attached to the unusual, but let's get to a segment called The Unusual. So that, bravo for that segue there. But we're setting all sorts of segue records here. But this one's pet peeves, quirks, weird talents here. So first of all, quirks. What's something a little quirky about your personality, but it's who you are?
I don't know if it's quirky. It's just who I am. Is I'm just really blunt and honest and straightforward, and I have no patience for anything. I have no ability to sugarcoat something or to give lip service to anything. I can't not just call it as it is.
Well, tell me how you really feel. No, I'm just kidding. How about weird talents? What is a talent, like a pretty minor thing in life that you're really, really good at, but has no impact on your business?
So this is kind of a gross one to some people maybe, but one of my good friends has always told me that it is unbelievable how well I have the ability to squat and pee anywhere. Like, I don't need to hold on to
That's
anything. I
great.
can literally just drop my drawers and pee, and I don't get it on myself. And she just is in awe because I gotta go. So let me just go behind something here and squat. And so that's honestly the only thing that anyone's complimented me on that's a talent or a skill.
That's awesome. You need a partnership with Squatty Potty for that. But
Love the squat.
that's yeah, I think there's special. I'm with you. There's special talent for being able to go anywhere. I think that probably comes in handy with the military background as well,
Right.
depending on
And maybe
where
that's
you're
where I
at.
got it. Maybe that's where I developed it.
Yeah, exactly. And then how about pet peeves? What's something? I mean, I won't let you say anything that deals with like patience or waiting for this one because you mentioned about
Yeah.
patience. But otherwise, yeah. What pet peeve? Something that grinds your gears.
My number one is garbage. A garbage can that is approaching full needs to be taken out. I don't want to have to
Yes.
squish it down 5 times. Like my husband, he's like, "Well, you could squish it down more." No, I don't want to put my hands in there and get nasty shit on my hands to squish it down. Like, let's just take it out and put in a new bag. But garbage cans anywhere, garbage cans at Target that are overflowing. Like, doesn't someone work here whose job it is to keep the store neat and clean? Garbage is a huge pet peeve for me.
That's awesome. Shout out my dad who I mean I think a lot of us are on the same page with that. It's like, when it starts to get full, like take it out. But like my dad has taken it to a new level where over the years, like it's like he just wants trash out of the house. So like as soon as there's like a banana peel or like anything that starts to, like decompose, it's like get it out of the house as soon as possible. So
I'm with him.
that's a great one.
I'm with dad.
All right. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. Ready for it?
Ready?
All right, let's get wild. What is your hands down favorite part about living in Minnesota?
My family and Four Seasons.
Oh, I thought you meant the hotel. You mean like the four
No,
different
like
seasons?
literally having Four Seasons.
I was like, those Minnesota Four Seasons, that's what it's known for, the hotel chain, right?
I don't love winter, but winter makes me appreciate the other 3 seasons so much more.
You got married last year, so technically this whole interview is a lie because I've been calling you a different last name than you technically are. It's your business name, your stage name. But I'm just personally curious about this because we just got married. But how much would you say your life has changed since you got married?
I didn't think it would change at all, actually, because we've been living together for 7 years. We have 2 kids. We own a house and everything. And neither one of us was going anywhere. But the thing that changed, the 2 things that changed, one you'll appreciate, is my name went from Beth Fynbo to Beth Beneke. So now I have another BB.
Perfect.
But also, I don't know, I always had one foot that could go out the door. So, like, the things about my husband that I would say are my pet peeves about him, whenever something would happen, I'd be like, "Oh, well, at least we're not married. If he continues to be like this, I can take the kids and go because we're not tied together." And when we got married and that door was closed, there was no foot going out that door, it felt so much more secure and comfortable and like, "Nope, I signed up for this." Anytime he doesn't take the garbage out, it's like, I knew he wasn't gonna take it out. I married him knowing this, so I just
That's
accept it
true.
and move on.
Yeah, you really screwed the pooch on that one. Yeah. How about your notes list, which I'm a huge fan of notes lists, like notes, like ideas, whether it's like product ideas or blog post ideas, newsletter idea, like all sorts of different things. But the notes app is like amazing. But what would you say is the most obscure idea, whatever you're comfortable sharing from this notes list you have?
Oh, I'm an open book. I gotta look at it. My favorite one that I do want to make that's kind of related to my current business is I want to make a reusable silicone placemats for adults for restaurants where like you have to put your phone away and there's like questions and activities on the placemat that will trigger conversation for you and the person you're with so that you're not, looking at your phones the whole time or, having a hard time coming up with conversation on that first or second date. I also want to come up with a photo frame for my car visor because I used to try and stick little printout pictures of my kids under my garage door opener thing. Because I like seeing my kids as a new mom. I wanted to see them while I was driving. I
Yeah.
thought, well, what if we just made a little photo frame that clips onto your visor so you can just easily put something up there? Oh, man, I got a lot of ideas on this thing. I should have looked at this
Yeah.
sooner. The best one though, and this, if somebody's in the breastfeeding industry, this they should run with this one, is a breastfeeding pillow that is like a like a neck pillow for like flights on an airline that has a timer on it and a light, like a dim light. Because as a breastfeeding mom, sometimes I'd be on my phone, sometimes I just want to fall asleep while I'm breastfeeding, sitting in the chair. And so I would breastfeed and wake up. Maybe it was 2 hours later. I didn't even know. I'm just still holding the baby and they're not drinking anymore. So if there was, a 15-minute, 20-minute timer that you could just push the button and it would vibrate to wake you up a little bit and then you have a neck pillow. Cause I would use an airline neck pillow when I breastfed to just lay my head down and rest. So somebody should run with that one. I'm never going to have the time or energy for that, but that's a good one.
Well, Beth B/Beth F, whichever rolls off the tongue. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story and inventions and all the behind the scenes. Really, really appreciate it. And just your products are so cool, and your new product ideas are really cool as well. So thanks for coming on. And where's the best place for people to try out any of the Busy Baby products if they want and to connect with you online?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's fun to be on a podcast where I can actually cuss. I'm not trying
Yeah,
to.
of course. That's how I won you over here. Yeah. My pleasure, though.
Busybaby.com. It's busybaby.com, busybaby Matt on the socials. We have all kinds of, you go there, you'll see what it is. And anybody can reach me through our website. I have a customer service gal who, if people are looking for just some mentoring or have a question about the process, I want to pay it forward now that I had so many people help me before I had a clue what I was doing. And now that I have a little bit of a clue, I'd love to help others too.
Awesome. Perfect. And then last thing, stage is yours. It could be a quote, a line. You could just swear more if you want, whatever you want. Final thoughts. Send us home here.
The thing that sticks with me about this journey and remembering it is a quote, or I'll screw it up if I start to quote it, but someone once said, you can drive all the way from New York to California in the dark as long as you have the right tools, headlights and a GPS. You don't actually have to know exactly what to do or where to go or how to do it if you have the right tools to help you or the right resources. And for me, it's the same with starting a business. If you don't know how to start a business, you can do it if you just take the next best step, the next instruction from the right resource. And I turned this business into a 7-figure business in 2 years, like just using the resources. So use the resources.
Amazing what a powerful GPS fueled metaphor will do. Beth, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing the Busy Baby story, all the B's, alliteration, metaphor, lessons, everything in between. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast and try out Busy Baby with them or that adult placemat idea. You can also find us on Good Pods, where there are really, really good podcasts and podcast recommendations and people. And for any help with podcast production, you can learn more at maxpodcasting.com and sign up for the Podcasting to the Max newsletter at maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!